Selamat Andropa. I want to thank you for your interest in Qigong and related energy arts that our talk show, The Secrets of Qigong Masters, is dedicated to. In this short video, I'd like to share with you some of the top experts who shared their expertise on Qigong in general and the process of mastering the energy arts in particular. With the roster of our guests being essentially the who's who in Qigong list, it was really challenging for me to pick just 3 people. But I finally decided to feature the following 3 masters whom I personally met and whose teachings I highly recommend: Ken Cohen, Bruce Francis, and Dr. Yang Jwing-Ming.
I am interviewing a fascinating Qigong master today who is one of the heavyweights in Qigong world in America. His name is Ken Cohen, also known as Gao Han. He's an executive director and the founder of the Qigong Research and Practice Center in Colorado. He's a world-renowned health educator, China scholar, and Qigong master with more than 40 years of experience. A former collaborator with Alan Watts, he's the author of the internationally acclaimed book, The Way of Qigong, The Art and Science of Chinese Energy Healing, best-selling self-healing audio and video courses, and more than 200 journal articles.
Let's first look back at the origins of Qigong in Taoism, because certainly most Qigong literature is found in the Taoist canon and in works that in one way or another are related to Taoism. And remembering, too, that Qigong is a modern, basically post-communist term, began around 1949, 1950. Previous to that time, these same exercises and meditative techniques for longevity and well-being were called either Dao Yin, which means leading and guiding the Qi, or else Dao Jia Yang Sheng Shu, the Taoist arts of nurturing life. Now, as the great scholar of Chinese science, Joseph Needham, puts it in Science and Civilization in China, he says that Taoism is really a mixture of early Chinese shamanism with a tradition of meditation and spiritual practices, as well as self-healing practices, you could say, that began during the Warring States period, around the 3rd century BC, when people were looking for a deeper truth in nature, away from the chaos and the corruption of the government. And that's simply to point out that anyone who pays close attention to their bodies and pays close attention to the natural world and lives in nature, they discover the same truths. Now, those truths are expressed and interpreted a little bit differently according to your cultural and linguistic filter. But what you learn through observing your breath, through observing the common nature of the human body, is pretty similar across the board. I mean, no wonder that the term qi itself is found, well, not as qi, but a parallel concept is found in every indigenous culture in the world. I mean, look at the Lakota word for it, inipi, is a contraction of 2 words, ni, which means the life breath, and tipi. You know, the tipi is the conical Plains Indian dwelling. So you put those 2 together and you get inipi, which means the tipi for the breath of life. So it cleanses and purifies that life breath. One of the oldest civilizations and cultures in the world, that of the San. The San are the ones that we pejoratively used to call the Bushmen. Now, the San say that there is a life force, a kind of life breath in the body called N-U-M, but you click the N, and this life force is stored in the lower abdomen and the base of the spine. When it heats up through dance and song, the body begins to tremble with this life force, and then the shaman, the spiritual healer, will project arrows of this life force into the patient. This sounds very much like external qi healing. And we could
Kundalini at the same time.
Yeah, well, yes, some relationship to Kundalini, but I think that wherever you find a shamanic root, that is, wherever you find a spiritual tradition based in nature, then those people who are not looking through the filter of a civilization, of a specific religious tradition, but are willing to look very directly, very immediately into the nature of the breath, into the nature of the life force, into the nature of movement, they discover similar things no matter where they're living. There's Yang-style Taiji, I study Chen-style Taiji, the various weapons and martial arts applications, as well as Bagua Zhang, and Xing Yi Quan. Tai Chi, Bakwan, Xing Yi are the three arts that together comprise the inner family of martial arts. Now, there are other arts that are also members of the inner family, such as Liu He Ba, Six Harmonies, Eight Methods. But the three best known are Tai Chi, Bakwan, Xing Yi. One reason they're called inner family is because they have an emphasis on inner cultivation. Now, at a high level, every art begins to emphasize internal cultivation. So we have to be careful that we don't too rigidly divide so-called external martial arts, traditional Kung Fu and Wushu, from so-called internal martial arts. Because at a low level of training, even a Tai Chi person could be doing his or her martial art in a hard manner, in a rigid manner. And on the other hand, at a high level of training, a hard-style martial artist could become very internal. But nevertheless, in general, there's more of a Qigong component early in the training of the three classic internal martial arts. And the inner martial arts, that is the Nei Jia Quan, emphasize Nei Xiu Yang, internal cultivation. That is cultivating the Qi and also cultivating one's spirit, cultivating the mind, cultivating one's character.
And today I'm honored to introduce to you one of the well-regarded masters of Qigong in the United States, Dr. Yang Jwing-Ming. Dr. Yang has been involved in Chinese Kung Fu since 1961. He has taught for more than 40 years. 7 years. He has taught seminars all around the world, sharing his knowledge of Chinese martial arts and Qigong.
So a lot of people, they learn the way to balance themselves. So that's one of the motivation at the time. The way to help me to build a confidence when the situation can come is learning martial arts. And amazing, when I told my parents I want to learn martial arts. Most of the parents, I guess, kids learn martial arts at that time because they go out, they become a bandit, they become gangsters. And surprised me when I told my parents. My father said, "Oh, okay." Then later, my grandma told me, because we have family style, everybody, about 70% of people learn martial arts. Then that's why I started playing Tai Chi Chuan. It's not because I like Tai Chi and I hate Tai Chi Chuan. I was only 16 years old, I hate it. But it's helping calm down as well. So that's the reason, the beginning of the meditation. I started meditating when I was 16 years old. But people say, oh, 16 years old is very young. Tell the truth, at that time, in my generation, probably I would say at least 20% of our young generation my age, they meditate. It's not writing book is not priority anymore. Before I write to survive, because but now enjoy too much and become lazy now. Now actually I'm lazy in writing, but actually I'm heavy. Here at 6 o'clock, or everybody meditate. Yeah, all the students meditate. Yeah, they come at 6 o'clock, they don't come on time, they got spanked, they got punished. So then the 6 to 7 meditation, 7 to 8 is Qigong, and 8 to 9 is breakfast. And they relax and they can go to the toilet, whatever, clean their body. And then 9 to 11 is Tai Chi Chuan, and then the Tai Chi Bo Qigong, and then 11, 12 learn Chinese. And the 12 to 2:30, the break, lunch break. 2:30 to 7 o'clock to 6:30 is all physical, external style training. And then from 6:30 to 7 o'clock, question and answer. If they have any question every day, they ask. That's a given answer. And after 7, they go to cook and they rest. And 5.5 days, and the 6th Saturday afternoon, everybody work. Then I realized, because in order to preserve the arts, because as I promised to my White Queen Master, I preserve the art to the ancient standard. So why don't I rebuild the retreat center? So that's why from 13 years ago, I started searching for the land for this project. That's how I started. Tao is one way, it's against. One way is follow the Tao.
Right.
The other way, they try to live long, enlightened, never die. That's against the Tao. Don't you see? Tao is sneaky.
Today, I'm honored to introduce to you a well-known Qigong master, Bruce Kumar Francis, in 1982. Bruce Kumar Francis was given a letter of introduction to his most eminent teacher, the Taoist lineage master, Liu Hongqian, who accepted him as his student. Master Liu completed Bruce's training in the martial and healing methods of Bagua, Tai Chi, Qigong therapy, and Tuina. Not only did he train Bruce in the water method of Taoist meditation, but even passed down his lineage to Bruce, which is directly linked to the Lao Tzu, the author of Tao Te Ching.
One question is, are the energy arts you teach the same as Qigong? Many people are not aware that Qigong is a bit like saying electricity. It's the actual energy work. And there are many ways in which it's used. Qigong Tuina, for example, is used for healing, and that's an energy art because they're arts of Qi or energy. Meditation is, martial arts is, the ability to actually do things to affect people's minds are, all the transmission abilities in meditation are based upon that. So the generic term in Taoism is Qi Shu, which is actually what energy arts means. Internal martial arts is only one division of the Qi work in Taoism. Now there's also a whole other contingent of people who do internal martial arts rather than strictly with what is called Qigong. And they do it basically as a form of Qigong, and either for their health or else they do it to give them the energy to do some sort of energetic healing work. How did I get involved with Taoism? Completely by accident. I was involved in martial arts. As a matter of fact, I didn't even know what Taoism was. And my first teacher in Taiwan, Wang Xujing, it happened to have been that through a whole bunch of reasons, he liked me, and we had kind of like a grandfather-grandson relationship. And the next thing I know, he got me initiated into one of the secret groups within Taoism. And from that, I ended up spending 7 years going through a Taoist priesthood training.
What does it mean by Qi Revolution?
What this book is about is just two things. The first one is that it was just simply trying to give for an average person, for your grandmother, for anybody, some introduction to it, because some of my other books are actually really primarily for people who are in the game. You know, like I wrote a book, The Power of Internal Martial Arts, which is like 300,000 words, and it's it's just not light, fluffy reading, but it has a lot of meat to it. So my eighth book,
that's one of the books I actually read and enjoyed.
Yeah, my eighth book is coming out in a month, and that's the Tao of Letting Go, which shows Lao's basic method of meditation. There actually is a very, very specific energetic and spiritual practice that is directly tied to the I Ching. There is also a martial art called Bagua-Zhang that is probably one of the best in the business, but the thing is that it took some of those principles and then applied it to a lot of fighting techniques. But there's actually the core energetic and spiritual practice. And this book is going into a lot about that. It also gives the foundation for anyone who does martial arts. I mean, if they want to do internal martial arts, I think there's only one thing that's true, as well as if you really want to learn Qigong or anything. The stronger your basics, the stronger the building you'll build, the farther you'll go. I truly do believe that if people would start considering the nature of the flow of life that comes in things that they do, I think that's the way out of the spiritual malaise box. I think that will make people dramatically happier in life, because it's life itself that makes people happy and satisfied. It's not the reflections of it, it's not the symbols of it that make people happy and satisfied. It's the actual sense of life itself. And that's basically what Qi is. So, I think it's nicer to be more alive than more dead. Most people don't know how to breathe, and I really do believe that would be the one thing, if they could do that would give them the greatest amount of benefit in their life for the effort they would put in. Period.
Of course, in addition to these three masters I've just introduced to you today, our season on Qigong features many other fine masters such as Drs. Roger Yanka, Effie Chow, Bernard Shannon, as well as Li Junfang, Bill Douglas, and many other amazing guests. Please enjoy the full collection of our interviews included in this season of our show at qigongmasters.com/qigong. And if you would rather get access to the current season, I would invite you to visit qigongmasters.com and sign up for our gold membership. As a charter member, you will qualify for a great discount and many other awesome bonuses, including the online courses on Qigong fundamentals, how to overcome Qigong problems, and abundance through being in flow. Please click the button below this video to become a charter member of our international community of practitioners dedicated to helping you manifest and live your dreams of mastering the energy arts.